a second-term vote for? Why is your mama asking us to vote for him again? Why couldn't he do everything in his 4 years? The fact is that we are developing a state.
Okay.
What it means is that the needs of the people never end. So why would anybody even bring up that question? That your vice president will do it now.
But there are some who say there are some low-hanging fruits.
Like what?
I mean, for instance, what's we're talking about? What's the name? This policy which was introduced when we were... this policy that affects mobile money.
E-levy.
The e-levy.
Yeah.
That's it. There's some low-hanging fruits like the e-levy.
Let me tell you something. Okay. Let me tell you something about it. And I'll explain. Okay. And I'm glad you brought it. I'll use that as a basis.
Right.
So the time we needed to introduce e-levy. Why do we introduce e-levy? The government introduced e-levy because we needed to generate revenue.
Absolutely.
So if the vice president says that, listen, I think that where we are now, after 2 or 3 years of implementing e-levy, and based on the new tax reforms I want to introduce, I believe that we'll be able to generate a lot more revenue from these other things. For which reason, we can slow down on e-levy and concentrate on these other things to generate the revenue. It doesn't mean that there is absolutely anything wrong with e-levy at the time it was brought in. Haven't we had so many taxes brought in and removed over the period? Why did we bring them? At every point in time when you're running a state, your needs, your situation determines the decisions and the actions you take. Did we have Ghana card 6 years ago? Did we have Ghana card 8 years ago? The essence of Ghana card and digitalization and all these things is that when we came to government, we realized that there was no proper national identity for the people. And so very few people are paying taxes. Very, very few people are paying taxes. And the rest who are not paying, you cannot even find them. You can't even identify them. So over the 7-year period, what we've been doing is to introduce a digitized system, the identity system, and then we didn't end there. After distributing close to over 17 million ID cards, we said that can we begin to synchronize it to the critical things we do? So your Ghana card is now your tax identification now. Card is what you use to get your passport. You're using your Ghana card to get your business registration. You're using your Ghana card to pay your income taxes. These are things that were not there then. And so now that you've done all of these things, if you want to introduce policies, it is very, very easy for you to use some of these bases and foundation to introduce policies that you wouldn't have introduced in a similar fashion 7 years ago. So the vice president point is that based on where we are now, he's of the view that we are now able to identify a lot more taxpayers. Because now you can't run away because your business registration number is tied to your Ghana card. It's tied to your bank account. That's what you use to pay your income tax. So we have been able to use this to now identify a lot more people, which now we can use to open the tax net or the tax bracket. Then he says that, listen, based on this, I want to bring certain reforms. Based on this foundation, I want to bring certain reforms in the tax regime. What it means is that these reforms, you couldn't have done them at the time when we didn't have this national identity properly so established. But now that it's there, I want to introduce some reforms. These reforms will ensure that our tax regime will be much more digitized, which will ensure transparency, reduce leakages, and ensure that we are getting the full component of what we are getting. That means more money. And because we've digitized these things and people cannot be found, that means more people paying. And now that you're having more people paying, more money, less leakages, more transparency, he says, can we attract people to come and be part of this new regime where I want to give flat rates to importers, where I want to align our duty to the Togo port, so that people will now be much more attracted to come and do it. Now the businessman or that individual who is now attracted by this new regime wants to be part, but he says, I have liabilities for the past 3 years that I haven't paid. If I show face today that this new regime I think is very convenient, I want to be part, they would give me my arrears to pay, but I don't have the money. It would create imbalances for my financial sheet, so I don't want to come. He says, I want to give you tax amnesty.